Hello there, commanders, and welcome back to Wargames Institute Tournament number 2. We are in the second battle of the third place match. I hope you watched the previous video and, well, you know some stuff that you shouldn't have known going into this battle. So maybe you didn't watch the ending. But we are back, and this time we see a little bit of a change. So even though the composition out of the Geese team of full 30 infantry units was very successful, we see some adaptation from them. They also have taken range units now in form of 3 archer units. They have also taken 1 elephant. As I say, with the fog of war. The Chinese pretty much the same, still no cavalry. They have removed dogs, now they have foxes instead. No, they have had foxes back then as well. So maybe the archers are an answer from the Geese team to the barbarian units that they may be expected to come out of the Chinese team. Or maybe just a screen for their pikes, because they're using cannon pikes as well. And those cannon pikes were getting wrecked by archers because of lack of raised shields. So if they just can use archers to screen their cannon pikes, that would work. And it seems like this is what they're doing. Where are the other pikes? Are they in the middle? No, this time, no, they do have 2, but just 1 unit. Yeah, I cannot click to find out where it is. They're all 4 units over here. 1, 2, 3. No, just 1, 2. Where are the pikes? God damn it! 1 is camping over here. Where's the 4th one? There it is. Let's see. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, so they're using 1 elephant to push to C. So the Chinese team adapts quite heavily. They have realized how important C is. That's why they're investing very heavily into it at the very beginning. The Russians send 1 elephant over there, and it is being stopped by Chinese elephant, but it's running away. Stomp has been dodged, but that stomp has been cast after the charge has already been cast. Pikes are positioning themselves, but they're also lagging. Come on, hello? Use the pikes to kill the elephant? No? Yeah, that elephant is just there to buy time, because obviously, since there are so many units from the Geese team, from the Wargames Institute team over at C, that means that Geese obviously has quite a huge advantage over on the other points. The pikes, just double pikes stacked up on top of each other, just pushing through. Again, if you're saying that pikes aren't broken, I'll just look at this. And please tell me you have Sao somewhere over here. No? So imagine if they use the Sao combo that they used in the previous battle. Just Sao buffs these Leonidas pikes, and instead of walking slowly forward at 20% speed, he goes 5 times faster and just pushes through, and this health bar disappears 5 times faster. Just imagine that. And then that's again how broken this is. So yeah. War Elephant is getting wrecked as well, but the healing zone still holds the hopes of them holding A alive. C is being contested by just 1 elephant, but it's almost dead. And the point already has been captured halfway through, and there is no reinforcements coming from the Geese team to C. So after they kill this elephant, kill the enemy elephant, not your own. There we go, that's better. Pikes are now nicely positioned, but they're not in pike phalanx. Well, they just need to stop the elephant so that the other elephant can hit it, but it doesn't, because the elephant just walks past him. Yep, elephants, even though they're big, clumsy creatures, apparently they're very slippery and agile as well. But Wargames Institute has managed to capture C, which gives them an advantage going forward, because now if they can just hold on to their own points, because it's quite unsustainable for a team to keep attacking a point with their healing zones being very far away, and the defending team having a healing zone right next to the point, or right next to where they're fighting, right? The line of supply supply lines, are much shorter than in terms of attacking units. This is like what, 100 meters, and this is a kilometer? I don't know. But it's essentially 10 times longer. So it takes them 10 times as much time to go back and forth to reinforce the front lines after they have lost them, as compared to the defending team. That's why it is unsustainable to just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, because you're going to keep running out of soldiers, and they can easily just disengage a unit that is wounded at half HP, like this one for example, and quickly bring it back and never lose a unit, while the attacking team is, you know, very prone and susceptible to losing units, and therefore giving more XP over to the enemy team, feeding them XP chevrons, and giving them even more of a long-term advantage. So the Chinese team, Wargames Institute team, is definitely poised to win this battle at this point. And only if they make big mistakes, they would lose. Because now the Geese team does not have a full melee composition. With full melee composition, you can just overpower some points. But now, pretty much the infantry forces are equal. They have only 2 more infantry units, compared to having 6 more, arguably 9 more, because dogs count as a half, so I don't know, 7.5 units more? Yeah, so the difference in melee forces is much smaller. Now, another thing that you need to know about this particular battle is that it's on Capitoline Hill. I know if you haven't noticed already, right? But Capitoline Hill is unique in a sense, compared to any other map pretty much, is that sea is on an island, or rather a plateau, right? But it's essentially like an island, because it's just cliffs everywhere, one approach over here, one approach over here, narrow approaches as well, and approaches from the base. But if you try to get to point C from a side point, it is very difficult, which means that even if you manage to capture a side point and you gain a healing zone over here on the opposite side of the buildings for the other team, obviously, these healing zones are not very good at reinforcing C compared to how useful they would be on other maps. So essentially, if you're fighting for C, and if you hold C, you have that healing zone over here, that gives you a huge advantage while fighting for C. It is true for all the maps, but it is exponentially more significant on Capitoline Hill because of, well, how it is structured. So, given that C is the most important and most, let's say, volatile point on the map, the Wargames definitely needs to put all their efforts into defending it. And now only 2 half-health elephants over there. Do the Geese team have Cao Cao? So they don't have a Cao Cao, they have Guan Yu, and that's just that. So Cao Cao buffed pikes would be a very good counter to an elephant. Because people say pikes are a counter to an elephant, right? But as you can see, these pikes are over here trying to spin. And I was about to say, but that elephant can just walk around them like he did before, but now he just walked into them. What the hell are you doing? Walk around the pikes. Okay, I am going to say this. A good elephant player would be able to walk around the pikes and not walk into them. Just saying. So that was a mistake out of this Chinese elephant player. He should have not walked into those pikes. There was definitely more than enough room for him to get inside the point. But anyway, they still hold on to the point. The elephants, well, one elephant can now just go back, bring the other one back, although it has already been brought back somewhere else, over here, I think. So obviously, even though the Chinese control 3 points, they are gaining less points per second because the Russians are contesting, Geese team is contesting, so Chinese team needs to try to respond with the same, and this is a very good place to do that with pikes, because obviously they cannot be flanked. They have glaives and defending their backs. So Lubu glaives, those are Guan Yu. Guan Yu will be able to buff these pikes and make them deal even more damage. And they have found a very unfortunate opponent, which is Asula, who is buffed by Caesar, and also Hasdrubal. And his pikes are also debuffed by Hasdrubal. So, yeah. But it's 64% melee weapon damage. Was Shield Bash nerfed, or was the Shield Bash on our opponent not maxed out? I wonder. I will need to check that, but I don't know. But yeah, we played a tournament on tier 7, and Shield Bash there was 44%, and here is 64%. So either they nerfed Leonidas, but I don't remember them nerfing Leonidas. Nobody else remembers it either, so I'm pretty sure it's not just me. So most likely our opponent's Leonidas was just not maxed out. Yeah, okay. So the Geese is camping over here, but is still contesting B with 1 unit. And that's Hannibal. Back in the day, when Determination provided Unbreakable, now it doesn't anymore. Portas has been slightly nerfed as well in the melee weapon damage department. Or was the melee attack that they nerfed? One of the two. I think it was melee attack that they nerfed. They left the melee weapon damage alone, and I was like, no, you were supposed to nerf melee weapon damage to melee attack. But apparently Seeing was better, as always, right? So nice Scorched Earth over here, holding them inside of fire. Defiance, ooh, that was a nice strike as well. Yeah, well, this lies in 45, but even if he was, Folksmen have that unique ability to ignore the shields, but 45 gives you regular melee defense as well, plus 49% of it. So even though the shield melee defense is being ignored, the plus 49% base wouldn't be ignored, and that strike wouldn't be as powerful. So, I don't know, maybe this person has like, oh, Folksman counter Sula, I'm Sula, there's no point in me going to Fortify, but he just forgot what Fortify gives. So yeah. The points are roughly equal. 2.2 points per second for War Games Institute versus 2 points per second for Geese. War Games Institute is still being pushed back all the time, but as I said, it is not very sustainable. It's not a good long term. But then you can just reflank a unit, reflank and left flank, or was the right flank? I don't know, it disappeared. But either way, left reflank and side flank a unit from the front, because you are a Hoplite Phalanx Blober. Yeah, that's a thing. You know, you just blob up in a phalanx, very skillfully right-click behind the enemy unit, then right-click on the unit, and suddenly it's reflanked. Even though it totally wasn't, as you could see here on your screens. Ooh, there's some pike-friendly fire. Why retreat through ally pikes when you can just retreat through the enemy and deal some damage that way as well? Kinda weird. But as I said earlier, as long as War Games Institute team does not make any super big mistakes, the Russian draft, the Geese draft, is much weaker compared to the previous battle draft. They don't have Sao Sao to buff their pikes. They have range units for some reason. Did they achieve anything? Not really. Oh, that's the Russian. Yeah. Leonidas obviously the most damage. What else did you expect? The archers are just sitting there somewhere in the middle. Well, they're second place, right? But just slightly ahead. Like 20% ahead of the other units. But obviously, range units don't tank like all the other units do. Well, all the melee units do. What is all the other units? Not according to CA, because melee units is specifically melee infantry. So B is looking quite weak. This Hannibal is slowly dying, running out of HP to pull through with. And he's facing a Sula, so pulling through Sula is not that easy, because Fortify is also a formation, so it's much more difficult to just pull through, as you can see. So it is going to hold, although it is being pushed back, and it can be pushed out of the point. And there is not a single fully dead player. No, now there is. Well, he died just over here. But it's 50 seconds before he's brought back, so somebody needs to rush over and defend B. But nobody is there. Elephant player could possibly just disengage, recall back to the base, rush over to B, because now B is going to be captured, despite the advantage of the healing zone over here. So yep, I said that the Wargame Institute will win if they don't make any mistakes, but they make a mistake again. This time it wasn't, you know, a big mistake like that, but where they essentially gave away the point for free in the last battle. This time they fought for it, but they just didn't allocate sufficient forces to do it. They just completely miscalculated the amount of forces they would need to defend it. And now, they absolutely need to rush it back. They either need to capitalize on the fact there is a shit ton of barely alive units over here, and try to push for a C that they largely control into D, but that is honestly stretching it thin, or stretching it far, reaching far, I don't know, English idioms. Idioms? Phrasal verbs. Anyway, out of either getting point B or D, getting B back is a far more feasible strategy. Now they're sending their elephants, but too little too late. And then just look at these massive, well, it's a mass of infantry, a blob of infantry. It's just going to sit on top of the point, and it is going to take a very, very long time to remove them. And even if you remove them, they can just heal. You can obviously use elephants to deny the healing, so they would need to operate these elephants very, very efficiently. They would need to make sure that these units don't die, or a full player doesn't die, so he cannot respawn. He needs to use healing in order to bring back his units, so that the healing itself can be denied, because you can deny healing, you cannot deny respawning. But they sent just spikes that were supposed to be routed, but then they have hold the line, so they're not routed. And now they're pulling through, as the natives would do, dealing a lot of damage, even though they're hopelessly outnumbered and completely surrounded. Because, yep, spikes are a balanced unit. But now hold the line is about to expire. It's still quite a long duration. And being hit back also deals some damage to them. But once it expires, oh no, he forgets about being flanked. It's just reflank. Well, definitely still a good trade. But yeah, being hopelessly outnumbered over here, the Wargame Suit team needs now to do something. Gets a point. And well, the Russian infantry is just stronger. It is just stronger, just that. So, yeah, they were constantly being pushed back or pushed into their points, and now that I have lost a point, it's looking pretty grim. Looking pretty grim for the Chinese team. Obviously, well, you have tools to figure out what is going to happen. They're not going to win. So while I was saying that, I obviously knew that they were not going to win, but you know, analyzing as if it were alive, they definitely did have a chance to win. They were on a winning position, and they just threw it away by, you know, misallocating their troops. Maybe they should have focused more on actually dying, because if a full player have died over here on A, then he could have just transitioned onto B after dying and respawning. And well, now it's a little bit too little too late. They didn't really pay attention to the Geese allocation of forces. Essentially, another very important concept in any of battles, any games like that as well, is pressure and being constantly within a punching distance of the enemy, and vice versa, obviously, having the enemy within a punching distance of your own units, heroes, whatever you're playing. Oof, that's a big damage to that elephant. Yeah, don't try to push through pikes, walk around them. Or use stomp, so then they just fall over and then you can walk over them. Yep. So, for example, if there was an equal pressure across the battlefield, and the Wargame Suit team was providing that pressure equally, matching the Geese pressure, essentially there would always be a trade available, right? If the enemy pushes you too much on one side, that means that, well, it's 30 units versus 30 units. If they have 5 more units on this flank, that means they have 5 units less somewhere else. But if you're not within a punching distance, you will not be able to respond. And that advantage that you would get from having 5 more units on the other side is essentially lost, wasted, or a missed opportunity. Like, for example, here they are just camping with 5 units. Right? That means that on the other side of the battlefield it is 30 versus 25. And they're not doing anything with these 5 units. So they're at a disadvantage everywhere else. That's why the Wargame suit is able to push all the way to D. But then Healing Zone, you know, is also quite strong. And well, the Geese just played it better, to be honest, than another Wargames Institute team. Because the skill was roughly equal, given all the dynamics that were happening. Well, the Russians should really not have won this battle after losing C at the beginning. And this other parallel that you can draw between two battles, because as I said in the previous battle with Alpis Graya, in the Battle of Gladiators tournament we did have 2 battles on Alpis Graya as well, so you can draw some conclusions from a comparison. And we also had a battle on Capitoline Hill in the Battle of Gladiators, where SUNTZU was on the same side as the Wargames in this team, in this battle. And pretty much the same scenario happened. We captured C at the beginning, right? And A and D flanks, or AD and BE flanks were just pushing back and forth, back and forth. But we didn't miscalculate where we should put our forces. And once we capped a point, we did not let go of it. But pretty much the same happened for the other team. Because, yeah, as I said, attacking a point is infinitely harder than defending a point. Well, infinitely is obviously an overstatement, but you get a point. It is very, very difficult to capture a point and very, very easy to defend a point. So essentially what happened is that we got C at the beginning, we never lost C at any point, we never lost A, we never lost B, even though it was being pushed multiple times. Multiple times they got close, but every single time we had our healing zone, we defended our healing zone, we used it, we reinforced our front lines, forced the enemy to pull back. And then we did the same, we pushed E, but the enemy team also had a healing zone over here. They used it, they defended it, they reinforced the front lines, and forced us back. So, yeah. And we only captured E at the very, very end of the battle, and that was only because we were within that punching distance. Right? Because as soon as the enemy team flex swings in that battle, they decided to attack C. They were like, okay, you go to C, we'll capture E that is almost undefended now. Because previously they were allocating most of their forces to E to match most of our forces being there as well. But the very moment they move away, they're essentially giving up tempo, right? Which is another concept within games like this. They're giving up tempo, they're spending their tempo to move their units to a different flank, which takes time, right? But because we are constantly within that punching distance of the enemy, we were able to intercept them while they were going from E to C over here. We didn't intercept them while they were going through their base, right? But that takes time to go like that. And we immediately attacked E. He said, well, we see that you're not defending E. We should still have enough forces to defend C, or defend for longer than you will be able to defend your E. And yeah, that's how we captured. And somehow, Wargame Suit has captured B. So now they have a chance of actually still coming back in this battle if they do literally everything perfectly. But they aren't. This elephant over here, yeah, is going to D, but he should be there already. He's not going to reach there within the 30 seconds that are left in the battle. So if they just contest D, if they contest E, then the Geese team is gaining 0 points per second, and they will be able to come back into the battle if they just try to hold it like that. But well, that is obviously not going to happen. But the possibility was there, so we can come back into the battle even if you're so far behind. Not going to happen in this case. And now look, Loin does the most damage. Range meta, right? Even though these are rank 4. There was no cavalry to pressure them, no dogs. These archers never met each other really. They didn't exchange range duels, killing each other more or less equally. Yeah. And that was before all the range nerfs, by the way, because this is an old patch. All the way back from beginning of December. Yeah. So just after the Chinese faction was released. And then after that, range units were nerfed a lot, and as of the recording of this video today, is another patch that nerfs range units. Figure out which one it is, because there are many. Well, we can also figure it out, but by the fact that it was after the Battle of Gladiators. So, yeah. That's kind of a giveaway. Anyway, that's it for this video. Well, this is the end of this tournament. So, I'll just see you in a different video, hopefully of a tournament as well, if we do have one, by the time this one is over, or this one is published. But if not, then I will see you somewhere else, and I will definitely see you on Arena's Battlefields, Commanders.